Hey, thanks for clicking on this video. If this is your first time here, welcome. And if you're a subscriber, thanks for coming back. I'm John Stark from movieguy.com, and this is my review of I Used to Be Famous. For those that didn't notice in the title, I'm a blind film critic. So we're going to talk about a little thing called audio description. If you don't know what that is, you'll find out. So this is a British film that's on Netflix. It's actually kind of a cool little film I didn't really know anything about. I just kind of saw some other people reviewing it, and I was like, oh, I'll check that out. Other people are reviewing it, so it must be legitimate enough. It's not Love and Gelato. We're not sending another girl off to Europe, so kudos. This is actually a film featuring a guy that's kind of a little bit of a has-been, a little bit of a washed-up musician. He used to be part of a famous rock group, and he's on hard times, and he's trying to figure out his life. And through sort of a chance encounter, he ends up running into this boy who, I guess the film never truly expresses where he lands, but I'm going to guess he's on the spectrum, because he has a really hard time, and he withdraws into himself a lot and becomes nonverbal. So I think he's somewhere on the ASD level. But he is one hell of a drummer. And that's actually what he drums to soothe himself. So he's really used to coming up with great rhythms. And one day, when our former rock star is just kind of like busking, the kid shows up and just starts drumming. And he's like, wow, who's this kid? You know, and then the mom runs over and she's like, you ran away from me. You know, and like, you know, she's so worried about him. And the guy's like, do you know how good your son is? Like, he's like an incredible drummer. So that's kind of like what the rest of the film is it's a sort of amalgamation of the guy who used to be famous, trying to get back to that, trying to get his life together, trying to turn it around, trying to have a job, trying to earn money, trying to fix everything, fix his life. He's got that whole like redemption story arc, but also at the same time, this kid ends up being his redemption story arc. His relating to this kid, him finding an outlet for this kid, for him to be able to do his drumming. There's like a drum circle that they go to, and he puts him on stage. He gets him sort of out there, and the kid becomes more confident, and the kid actually starts talking and having dialogue. And it's you can see that he's bringing this kid out of his shell. And then, of course, there's like a catalyst, and we work backwards, and it kind of becomes, it follows where you think it's going to go, I think. But I don't know that necessarily being predictable is always a bad thing, as long as it's earned. Did you earn it? Like, there are a lot of things out there that are formulaic, and they find like a new way of sort of adding a little bit of a twist onto the formula and changing it up a little bit. But because we've seen so many films like it before, they end up becoming predictable. I see a lot of critics that are like, oh, it was predictable, I didn't like it. And it's like, at this point, you know, I've seen thousands of movies. If I just decided not to like every single film because it ended up where I thought it was going to end up, then I wouldn't like anything. You know, every once in a while there'd be a film with a twist ending where I'd be like, ooh, look at that. You Shyamalan yourself into the into the world. But yeah, it's crazy. It seems like it's a way for people to just say that they don't like a film and to be like, well, it's predictable. It's like, yeah, it was. Because you've seen, like, how many films have you seen in your lifetime? I really want to go to some of these critics sometimes when I see them on YouTube and they're like, it was predictable, I didn't like it. They're like, how many films have you seen? Of course it's predictable. You've seen this film like 50 times already. So the question is, did it do something different? Did it do it well? Did it earn the ending? Did it follow the beats it needed to follow? Is it good? Is it worth watching? We're not talking about handing it an Oscar. Just simply, is it worth watching? And I think, yeah, I think this film is worth watching. It's true that there's something to be said for that feeling of deja vu and just being able to walk through the film and be like, yep, okay, so we've been here before. I'll say the biggest risk that it takes is by not forcing a love relationship in here between the rocker and the mom. The film doesn't become about that. It stays away from that. It kind of takes more of an about a boy approach, where it really is about the relationship between the guy and the kid. And the kid's not even that young. He's not as young as the kid in About a Boy. I don't know how old he is, but he's not that young. So it does make a choice that most other films would have naturally been like, okay, well, we're gonna make it, and then he's gonna, be the surrogate father, and they're gonna live together, and it would have gone sort of like with that subplot. It doesn't really go that way. It kind of she tries to sort of keep him, like, she knows he's kind of got a sketchy past and is risking a little bit trusting him. But the film is not like a rom-com. It's about music. It's about the love of music, and can redemption be sought, and how do you get redemption? So, yeah, I push back on things like that. I don't care if a film follows the same beats. It just has to earn it. If it's earned and it's good, cool, I like you. If it's not earned, or it just is dull and lifeless, there's a way to make it dull and lifeless. This is not dull and lifeless. This is full of life. It's really well done. I love the drum circle moments. I think they're really great. Just coming from a music perspective, which is like the other half of my life when I'm not on camera. The music in here was great, and I loved the drum circle. So the audio description on this film, I do want to make a comment, because it was amazing in one respect, and it was also, there were times when it kind of dipped out, and I felt like I was like, where you at audio description? There were a couple times in like concert scenes where I felt like I went a while without hearing the audio description. Like, we were just going to listen to a concert scene without any interjections, and there were times where we could have interjected, where I caught like a dead silent moment, and there was at least time to put in a little reminder of sort of like the stage, or where somebody was, or what something looked like, or just something to kind of give us an update, because stuff has happened, and it didn't check in with us. It just kind of stopped for like 5 minutes and then just came back later. It was very weird, but in another regard, it was making choices that I've never heard in a film. There was a scene where the two guys were talking and having a conversation, and the actual audio description, when it decided to tell me what somebody's reaction was, it said that he reacted both with sympathy and a sense of urgency. And that was his facial recognition, the actor's choice. Like, when I say something to you, and then if the audio description is trying to, like, you know, the camera cuts to your face, and then the narrator has to describe your reaction. The reaction was described as being both with sympathy and a sense of urgency. And I was like, that's really deep. That's layered. It's a layered reaction. A lot of times we get like eyebrows furrowed, lips curled, we get a slight smile, we get eyebrows raised. You know what I'm saying? Like, I get like really short things all the time, but that's like interpretation. That's like understanding the scene in which people are talking about and understanding the characters. You have to understand the whole conversation to be able to interpret what the actor's choice is there. Because it's a layered reaction. You know, you can react with sympathy, but then to react with sympathy and also a sense of urgency, what you're doing is you're interpreting and adding the scene in there as well, because it's kind of hard to show both sympathy and a sense of urgency in one facial reaction. You know, I feel like I'd be doing it. I feel like I could try and be just doing like a Zoolander thing of like blue steel, like over and over, because it's not something that's easily done. And I don't think the actor was brilliant enough where somebody looked at him and goes, "Ooh, that face, it's sympathetic, but it's urgent." You know, like, no, that's an interpretation of the scene and understanding where it needs to go and the characters. So when you're able to sort of look at the bigger picture and look at a scene like that, it really makes me hopeful that one day when we have these directors that are known exclusively for their visual style, and I end up doing reviews of their films, and I'm like, there's just going to be stuff that we miss. You know, it's really hard to describe to somebody who's never seen a Wes Anderson movie why Wes Anderson is a thing. But all of his films have a very specific visual style to them. Say for maybe Bottle Rocket, his first film, everything after that is Wes Anderson has developed a style. And it's hard to work that into audio description, you know? I don't think anybody's figured that out yet, how to convey to an audience, this is what your director is trying to do. But if you can start interpreting and understanding and putting little things like that in, it could really enhance films like that. It's funny that it did it here in just this random little film on Netflix that somebody took a risk with it. But there were little moments like that throughout the film where it just kind of told you a little bit more about the story, and actually narrated a little bit, to be totally honest. And it's a very different narration, and I would encourage people to check it out, just so that you can see what I'm talking about. It does drop out and it vanishes for longer than I would have liked in some parts, but when it's there, what's written is just incredible. Whoever the writer is, I would really love for them to work more in the industry. So that's it. That's my thought on that. So now it's time to grade the film. And I am going to go, I Used to Be Famous. I'm going to give it a B+. That's where I feel like it's going to go. I don't think there are any performances in here where I just tremendously felt like, if you're wondering why I didn't go A, it's just because I didn't feel like any of the performances are memorable enough on their own to stand out. And I feel like when I saw, I'll keep comparing it to About a Boy. When I saw About a Boy, I thought that was like Hugh Grant's best work at that period in time in his career. Obviously, you know, Toni Collette just was amazing in that role. We were introduced to Nicholas Hoult. I didn't really feel that. If I never saw the kid who plays Stevie in this ever again, I don't know that I would miss anything. I also don't know, and I feel like there's going to be a lot of people who are like, well, if he's on the spectrum, was the actor on the spectrum? I know that was a big thing, sort of, with some other projects, is making sure that actors are correctly represented. I don't know the answer to that question, so I have no idea. But none of these performances went over and above to a point where I will remember just the performance. But I do remember liking the film, so there's that. So B+. Anyway, if you like the review, go ahead and give me a subscribe, and I'm trying to get to 100 by the end of the year. That'd be great. As usual, you can leave me a comment with your thoughts. You can go to macthemovieguy.com for more reviews. You can go to the audio description project, adp.acb.org. It'll let you know what has audio description and where you can watch it. And the adna.org will let you know who's narrating what. And that's it. I got to go review something else, but I will see you on the other side.